Yeah, it's cold. It's windy as balls outside. I swear, I could feel my house shaking. It's kind of scary. I'm gonna finish off Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 6. I'm not gonna pronounce that shit because I can never do it. I know I had a little bit left. I know I have at least 3 videos on this, and that's usually the most I've ever gotten to. I had a lot to say in the second video to this episode, to the point where I had so much information that it didn't all fit in the third video, unfortunately. So let's start. If I remember correctly, I left off where Daniel follows that little kid Juan. Remember, he saw the little kid named Juan put a dog down a cellar, a shaft-looking thing, and you just hear that dog screaming and crying in pain. So I'm like, you did not just feed a dog to what I'm assuming is infected. And I was like, dog killers! Dog killers, all of you! I hated that. I was like, ugh. Throw the kid down the wine cellar thingy. Give him the shaft. I'm grouchy right now, mainly because, I'm cold, and I'm sorry. Anyway, Anyway, Daniel follows the kid down to the wine cellar, and he sees behind doors that Juan is talking to someone, and they're talking to each other in Spanish, right? And he asks Juan, who's he talking to? He's like, oh, I'm talking to my mother. And he's like, your mother's here? Can you introduce me to her? And so he's like, yeah, you can see them over here through the gate. So he opens the door and lets Daniel through, and Daniel enters the cellar and sees the cell full of infected. Hence where the dog went. Dog murdering bastards. I hate you guys, Fear the Walking Dead. I officially hate you just because you killed a dog. You voluntarily let a little kid kill a dog by feeding it to walkers. You assholes. I wanted you guys to go through Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead without killing a dog, at least. You can kill anything else but a dog. Bleh! Anyway, Daniel actually confronts Celia back at the house about the infected that are inside the cellar. And she explains that they're all family members who worked at the estate. And, while she's doing that, she's preparing some food and stuff, and Daniel notices that she prepared 2 communion wafers. The communion, you know, when you take the body of Christ and all that stuff, the little wafers. And when Daniel sees that, he realizes that she was the one that killed the parishioners because they ate poison wafers, communion wafers. Because remember, like I predicted in the episode, because they all seemed just fine, right? And then they all took communion, and then they all went outside, and all of a sudden they're falling down in pain with blood coming out of their eyes. And I was like, the only thing they all did together was freaking eat the communion wafer. So either that, we didn't see them drink like the blood of Christ, you know, the wine that usually comes with it. So the only thing they all ate together was a communion wafer. So I totally called that something was wrong with the wafers. And I was right. Because Celia took out 2 communion wafers, and Daniel pretty much put 2 and 2 together, that she's the one that poisoned the wafers, that therefore killing all those parishioners because they ate them. And when he confronts her saying, you know, they were killed by you, she corrects them and all that stuff, but I don't know. Is the lady that, remember when Strand came up to the parishioners before, you know, they're falling down in pain with the blood in their eyes? They said, please don't, he's pretty much telling the parishioners, please don't do this, and that priest was like, don't protect her, or something like that, to Strand. Is the her that Strand is protecting, could it be Celia? I'm only guessing that the priest was referring to Celia, the one that Strand was protecting. But anyway, basically she corrects him when he accuses her of killing the parishioners. I don't remember what she says exactly, but I do remember that she told him when she leaves the room to make peace with his dead and all that stuff. And it's like, either she's in denial or she's just playing crazy. I don't know what to think about her. But anyway, Celia ends up going to Thomas's room and brings the wafers to Strand and Thomas. And she commends Strand for deciding to die with Thomas. Because remember, Strand suggested to Thomas, you know, don't fight it. Don't fight the bite mark and the infection stuff. Just let go. What if I died with you, right? So they could be together even in death. And Celia, I think because Strand decided to die with Thomas, gave those poisonous communion wafers to him so they could just end their lives together. Kind of like Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, right? And so she gives the wafers and she just leaves the room and locks it. So she assumes that Strand will eat the wafer, therefore killing himself, and then they'll both be like walkers, right? So that's why she locked the door. And so Celia ends up... You see Celia in the courtyard just drinking wine, and Nick finds her there, right? Nick, I think he's being a bit too much of a follower, because he's like asking Celia, they're not really dead, right? And she's shaking her head saying no. And she pretty much says the infected are pretty much what comes next. And I think she's partly in denial and partly using religion to pretty much fuel her denial that the infected are seriously dead. That's what I think, in all honesty. It literally is like Herschel. You know what I mean? Like, Herschel thought the walkers they're not dead, they're just sick, and that's why he's looking for a cure to cure all the friends and family he had in the barn, right? Because he just thought they're sick. For Celia, it's kind of the same. She has all those infected in the wine cellar because she doesn't think they're dead. But at the same time, she doesn't think they're really sick. She just thinks that this is just... She thinks it's a religious thing. That's what I think. But it's still the same as Herschel. She's in denial. She doesn't believe that they're dead. You know what I mean? But anyway, unfortunately, poor Thomas Abigail, we get back to him and he stops breathing and Strand kisses him and all that stuff. And, he gets up and starts searching through Thomas's bedroom drawers, which I don't understand why he does that, but, I'm guessing he's looking for something, but at the same time he does find it and returns back to the bed, but we don't see what it is. And at the same time, Chris, who's sleeping in the same room with Travis, wakes up from his bed and leaves the room, and he enters Alicia's room, and you see Alicia and Madison both sleeping there in the same bed, right? He tries calling to Alicia. I don't know why, in all honesty. I don't know why he tries to wake Alicia, because he does kind of like a loud whisper. He's like, Alicia! Maybe to see if he's either just doing that to see if she's awake, or trying to wake her up and talk to her or something, but she doesn't respond, so he ends up on the other side where Madison is on the bed, and he sees a knife at the bedside table, and he just looks at it and he picks it up. Right when he picks it up and inspects the knife, right, there's a gunshot that rings out that wakes up Madison and Alicia right when Chris is looking at the knife and inspecting it. And Alicia sees the knife in his hand and screams at Chris to leave, and he like panics and runs outside with the knife, right? In my honest opinion, I don't really think that Chris was gonna kill them, because let's see from what Chris came out of his room with where he's sleeping with Travis, goes to Alicia's room and calls her name. That could either mean he's calling Alicia's name to see if she's asleep, or she's calling her name because he wants to talk to her. But if she's calling Alicia's name, you know, the first option, if he's calling Alicia's name to see if she was asleep, he could have done the same thing to Madison to see if she was awake too. But he didn't. He just said Alicia's name. So in all honesty, I think he was calling Alicia because he wanted to talk to her. And keep this in mind, he saw the knife at the bedside table, and he just picked it up and looked at it. He was inspecting the knife, right? He didn't notice the knife there until he walked to the other side where Madison was. So I don't think he was planning to kill I think he honestly wanted to talk to Alicia, and he noticed the knife there on the bedside table, probably left there by Madison or Alicia, mainly Madison, I think. And he was just looking at it, like, inspecting it, and it just so happens the gunshot goes off at the same time that happens, and they both wake up, and he's holding the knife. So I think that literally is a misunderstanding. I don't think he literally came into Alicia's room to kill them. I think he literally went in there to talk to Alicia, and he just happened to see the knife there. He picked it up and inspected it, and that's when they ended up waking up because of the gunshot. So I think that was a misunderstanding in that option, but I still think something's wrong with Chris. I still think he enjoys killing a little too much. But, like, going back to the gunshot, we find out that the gunshot was actually Strand, because he's sitting next to Thomas on the bed. He's holding a gun. And there's literally a pillow on Strand's head where there's like gunshot residue. So obviously he put the pillow on top of Thomas's head and shot Thomas. And you see him crying and stuff. So he put Thomas out of his misery. And it looks like, you know, he chose to put Thomas out of his misery, make sure he doesn't turn into an infected. And it doesn't look like he took the wafer, so maybe a change of heart, or he either had a change of heart by when it came to, you know, dying with and becoming infected with Strand, because it seemed like in the beginning he was going to turn into, he planned to kill himself and be an infected along with Strand, but instead he chose to kill Strand instead of letting him turn into an infected and maybe he had a change of heart and turned into an infected himself, because I saw the preview, he's still alive, you know what I mean? So yeah, that is my reaction rant to the end of episode 6 to the Fear the Walking Dead season 2. I'm sorry it took literally 4 videos, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to episode 7, which I believe I heard was the mid-season finale of season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead, which will premiere May 22nd, so look forward to that, guys. Bye, BooTube.